Hey, we're about to enter the botany department.
This is what a herbarium specimen looks like. So they're pressed plant records, and so each record is like a natural history record. It's a snapshot of time of what plant occurred where in the environment. So like young kids will go, well, how come you have so many ohia specimens? It's because it's the space-time continuum. You want everywhere ohia occurs, and then you want it over time. So we have conservation people that collect specimens and they deposit them in the herbarium. There are herbariums that have something like 10 million specimens, 8 million, and they have representatives from all over the world, so they're considered international herbariums. This herbarium is a regional herbarium, so we focus on Hawaii. We have the largest Hawaiian collection in the world. It dates back to Captain Cook's third voyage. And then from there, we focus on the Pacific. So Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia. Herbarium gets used for things like writing books, like the Manual of the Flowering Plants of Hawaii, and that was published in 1990. So it's quite outdated at this point. And so we have an online, plantsofhawaii.org. You can go online and it has all of our specimen images in there, and all the everything is in a database. It's a searchable database. And then we can update what we call the taxonomy, or the names of the plants, because plant names change all the time. Because botanists will lump things together or split things up. And also all the molecular work that's been done since the early 90s forward has really changed where the dust settles with plant names as well. So it's like in all the different sciences, the scientists are trying to categorize everything. They sort it out and give it names and categorize it. So this plant is here. This kind of demonstrates it. I don't know if you had biology in school.
Oh yeah, I'm taking biology this year.
Yeah, and you might learn what's called adaptive radiation. So what happened is, are you like, what?
I never heard of that.
Have you heard of it? You will. Well, you've heard of evolution.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened is our Hawaiian honey creepers, one honey creeper made it to the Hawaiian Islands, and then what it did is over a long period of time it filled different what we call niches. And a niche would be, say, a coastal area, a dryland forest, then you get a little higher up and it's more of a mesic forest, which can be kind of wet, kind of dry, and then you get higher up and you get into rainforest. And even higher up, it's cold, like Mount Ka'ala is the highest point in the Waianae. It's the highest point on Oahu, but it's in the Waianae. So, you know, when you're driving home and you're facing the Waianae mountain range, if you look over to the right, you kind of see that high part that's kind of flat. That's Mount Ka'ala. And it's a bog trail up there. You walk on a boardwalk. And there's a lot of native birds up there, native plants. Because of all the invasive species in Hawaii, our native flora has really taken a beating. You know, a lot of it's gone. We're the extinction capital. Now, and what's been happening is, since Europeans colonized Hawaii, they also brought mosquitoes. And those mosquitoes carry avian pox and avian malaria. So you've heard of malaria, you've heard of things like smallpox and chicken pox. Well, these are bird forms of it. And they've really decimated the bird population, as has habitat loss. But what's happened with climate change, our high elevation areas, like on the Big Island, Mount Ka'ala, the mosquitoes are starting to get up there because it's gotten warmer. And they carry that disease, and it's the future outcome of what native birds we have left is not looking good over the next 10 to 20 years. It's looking actually really quite depressing. Sad. So my friend and I were IDing this plant one day, and go ahead and follow me and see what it looks like. So see, it's alphabetical by family. Family names always have an ACE ending. And then it's by genus, and then the next family. So my friend and I were identifying this plant one day, and when we put it under the scope, we were kind of just like, whoa. So it's Salvia H. Pull this out just a little. And then I always keep the cabinets shut too, just safety.
Oh, we're under the microscope now.
No, this
Oh.
isn't, the microscope is there. This is a dissectoscope.
Dissectoscope.
Dissect. The microscopes go way more, magnification is way higher. You have to use microscopes like for lemur. Lemur, you have to make cross sections. So this is just magnified a bit. Now, I have my glasses on. You might have to adjust it, but you can learn how to use this right now. I'm just trying to find the part that I want you to see. I'm not finding it. I might have to get the other one out.
In a nutshell, we are scanning the plants here using this fun little radiation machine to see if we can detect any metals contents in them to try and find hyperaccumulators.
So there are plants that hyperaccumulate heavy metals, and that's what they're looking for. And they have this X-ray machine gig. So we had to have a special permit on campus. It's safe. It's yeah. But
Yeah.
so that's what he's been doing. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And then here I have. You can see what the database looks like. So this is June, retired school teacher. She's taking biology this year.
Where? Oh, proceeding.
Yeah. So this is what our database looks like. So she takes the stuff that you saw on the label out there, and it gets broken down into different searchable fields: habitat, plant description, the collector, the collection date, the name of it, and the sheet number. All of our specimens have a number on it, and that's what we search them by. And now they're all barcoded as well. And so June is data entering. This is how we store all of our mosses. They're in these envelopes, and then they're stored in boxes like this. Let me show you. So forest lemur. Lemur kuahibi, I think. See? Isn't that beautiful? And many of these actually have more than one species in them. When you collect moss, sometimes there's a whole lot of stuff in what you collect, but we're not separating all of that out. Here we have Lori and Nona, also retired school teachers.
Scary.
Math, elementary school. I know, you like how I say math. These two are going to go holo holo for a while today and leave June on her own. But they image. They come in once a week and image for 4 or 5 hours. And so they put a barcode on it, they get it in here, and then we have these Sony cameras, and she's going to, that box moves it to where you focus it to, and then she's going to take the picture.
So then it goes in the database, and you guys can find it if you ever need it.
Yeah, they're all up online. Yeah. Yeah. Except the rare, endangered, and threatened stuff we don't share, because we don't want to share the locality data of stuff that's endangered out in the
Oh,
world.
yeah.
Yeah. To the Smithsonian, to the herbarium on Hawai'i, and also New York Botanical Garden, Missouri Botanical Garden. There's a herbarium in Harvard, and then the big botanical garden in England. So those are some of the places where I send our duplicates to. So they come in newspaper, and when they get here, I accession them. So if I get a whole box of specimens, I count those up, and that gets one accession number. And that gives the museum a paper trail of how we got these specimens, because the accession number will go back to the paperwork, and it'll say how many I got, who I got them from, and when. And then from the newspaper, they mount the herbarium specimens, and Kay Howe likes to sew them on, especially heavy-duty specimens. This is some form of alloy. So she's stitching that to the sheet. Arlene is a retired school teacher too, from Punahou. She taught art, and so she comes in twice a week and mounts herbarium specimens. See?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then Kay Howe was travel industry management, so she got to us because my coworker Pumehana, when she booked trips around the world, she went to Kay Howe to do all those bookings, right, Kay Howe? Was that a good, yeah? And then Lynn and Kay Howe, I think, are kind of related, but they came at different times. Lynn is a retired nurse.
Oh.
And you two are related, or you are,
Yeah,
yeah.
we are.
But they didn't get here together. They got here separately and were like, oh, I know you.
Because we have a whole group of social friends. So that's all. Because of the microscope.
So that's how it arrives.
Yes, newspaper.
Oh.
That's why I like looking at the
It-
old
It
newspaper.
doesn't look like much when she opens it, but when they get mounted, even the grass specimens are kind of pretty, you know, when they get put on a sheet. This is a sedge, I think. It's Carex. We had a researcher here, Dr. Koyama, used to come all the time, and his specialty was sedges, and he did the Carex of China, and for their flora, over 800 species in that one genus of Carex, and they all look alike to me. This is my favorite with the beetles, and look at the big scarab-like beetles.
Is that the rhinoceros?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know, I'm not an entomologist, but look at that one. Crazy, huh? And downstairs they have even bigger ones.
Beautiful beetle diversity.
I can look at that one for a long time. There's so many in there. Right?
Wait, are these like the eggs or are they just really tiny?
Those are beetles. All of those.
一開一開啦一開那一啊我看不完呐。一開一開啦一開那一啊我看不完呐。Aina, aina mai kapuana, ahenan ni he au nei. Aina ho, aina mai kapuana, ahenan ni he au nei. Saba. Ino ano kiaw nani.
Now